right, here we go. Sarah here. Welcome back to another episode of Your Fucking Welcome. I am alive. I am so sorry that I kind of ditched you guys the past couple weeks, but it has been really crazy. There's been a lot going on, a lot of good stuff, and I just got to the point where I felt really overwhelmed. And first, I went into the mode of, we can't take a week off or 2 weeks off. We can't drop the consistency that we've had. I was telling myself all these stories about why we couldn't do that. And I mean, I would be lying to you if I said that it was the ideal situation. Like in a perfect world, I am consistent as fuck and I am publishing episodes every Tuesday and Thursday, right? In a perfect world. But we don't live in a perfect world. And I felt at times so overwhelmed over the past couple weeks, like really just so buried by everything that I had going on from a business and personal perspective, that I really just felt like I had to take a couple weeks to myself and be okay with that. And so when I started thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about today, I had a million, of course, topics in my head. And, I was putting all this pressure on myself that I left them for 2 weeks. I've got to come back with the world's greatest episode. And I had this moment, like literally, I'm not even kidding when I say that it was like a second of a moment where I was like, maybe I could say something was going on or kind of make an excuse as to why I took the time off. And again, I pride myself on not being a liar. I pride myself on number one, being an awful liar, but I pride myself on being just a really transparent and open and honest person. And so that's what I mean when I say that it popped into my head as a thought for a microsecond. And then I certainly was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm absolutely not going to do that. I'm going to own what was going on. And when I was thinking about that today, that gave me even more guidance on what I wanted to talk to you about, because one of the rules that I have had for myself in my life and in my business over the past couple of years, and something that always grows stronger, is that I don't do anything, I don't say anything unless I can own that thing that I'm doing or saying, right? And so rather than coming to you with some, bullshit reason in terms of why I couldn't, again, put out the podcast episodes the past 2 weeks, I want to just own that I felt really overwhelmed, and this was the thing that had to kind of be put on the back burner. And as I've said many times before, and as I will always own, I am far from a perfect human being. But one thing that I really think that I have done right in many ways in my business is I will always be honest and transparent and real with you, and I will own why I made a certain decision, why I did the thing that I did. And for that reason, I get so little pushback from my people, or I have so little drama in my business, because there's really nothing that I'm trying to get over on you. I might fuck up, but I'll own the fact that I fucked up, and I'll make it up to you the best that I possibly can. Or again, I'll own why this thing happened. And I wanted to talk about this because over the past couple of weeks, I've had conversations with clients, multiple conversations, where I'll use the example of people wanted to launch something, or they were in the middle of launching something and they wanted to have a little bit more time to sell it, but they were so worried about pushing the deadline back. They were so worried about, what are people going to think? Or I hate when people say that this is the deadline and then they change the deadline. And one client in particular, I said to her, okay, but what is the truth of this situation? And the truth of the situation was that she wanted to close the doors on a certain day. She was planning on closing the doors on a certain day, but because of things that were going on in terms of the sales and also just in terms of her life and business, of course, she wanted to push the doors back. She wanted to extend the deadline, but she went back and forth on it for quite a few days. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? And so this was not a situation where she was setting out to tell people one thing that wasn't true, and then she was changing the rules on everybody and pulling the rug out from under people. She was genuinely confused and genuinely back and forth on which decision to make. And so as we were just having this conversation, I was like, that right there is what you lead with. That right there is the guiding principle in terms of, is this the right or wrong decision? In the sense that you're not hurting anybody, right? This decision is not like you're selling a program for $1,000, people bought it, and then you're like, oh, just kidding, now it's $1, and sorry for everybody else who paid too much, right? You're not making a decision that's actually hurting somebody, and it's not a situation where you went into it consciously or intentionally misleading anybody. And so again, I wanted to bring this up because I feel like it's relevant and it's aligned with so many things in our lives, right? Not just our business, of course, but personal decisions. The example that pops into my head, and this is a personal thing to share with you. And again, I think it's relevant, which is why I'm sharing it with you. But I haven't been shy about the fact that I've gotten a couple things done over the past year and a half. I've gotten breast reduction. I've dabbled in the Botox. I've gotten my lips done. I got veneers and a gum lift early this year. And it makes me, I was talking about this in my Facebook group last night. I was looking at old pictures from my previous photo shoot. And I'm like, not to sound like an asshole, not that it's a bad thing to own that I'm happy with my new smile, but it felt like a weird thing to say, oh God, look how good I look now, or whatever it is, how that could come across, because that wasn't my intention. But as I was looking at those pictures last night, and then I was looking at the new ones, I was like, God, I'm so happy that I did that for myself. I'm so happy that I own the fact that I was not happy with something, and I honored that, and I took the steps. Essentially, I invested in myself, and it was a scary move, and it was not cheap to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to change this about myself. And I'm bringing that up here because when I did it, it felt odd to okay, well, now I'm going to be on camera, whether I'm doing a video or whether I'm in pictures, whatever, and I'm going to look different. And I think a lot of times where people might want to not own the fact that they've got something done, to me, it's just not my nature, as we're talking about here. But also it's what am I going to tell you? My teeth went through puberty and went through a growth spurt. They're clearly different. Why would I ever not own that? And so why I'm again bringing that up is because not long ago, I was considering doing something else. And I'm not going to tell you what that is because I might still decide to do it. But I was talking it through with my coach, Carrie, and not that she talked me out of it, but in talking through it, and talking through this procedure, I felt myself not being proud of the decision, not being proud of wanting to get this particular thing done. And that right there telling me so much about should I or should I not do this? Because if I can't sit there and proudly own it the way I would my teeth or way I would anything else, that's probably not the right move, right? And so again, I'm using all of these examples hopefully to allow you to really pay attention in your life, in your business, right? Everything from, should I text this person? This person didn't text me back. Should I text them? Or should I go on this date? Or should I talk to this person? Should I, again, push the deadline back in my business? Should I raise the price? Whatever it is. Can you own what you're doing? Asking yourself that question really allows you to really see clearly what the right move is. You've probably heard me say this before, but I'll say it again, that it's such a big rule for me when it comes to what I say online, right? I will not say anything that if somebody were to disagree with me or somebody were to tell me that I'm wrong, I make it my mission to say something that somebody can disagree with me, but I wouldn't back down. Or if I genuinely felt as though I was wrong, or if I genuinely felt as though I had hurt somebody or said something harmful, that's something different. But if I believe in what I'm saying, nobody can make me feel wrong for it. And so again, if I am sitting there doing anything in my life or in my business that I don't feel like I can own, I just pay such massive attention to that now, because it's something that, again, guides the decisions as I move forward and clearly shows me what is and what isn't the aligned decision. And I think it's just something worth paying more attention to. It's something worth really making a priority in your life and in your business when it comes to the decisions that you're making, because ultimately, right, when it comes to, if we're going back to business, especially for a moment here, right, when it comes to your business, I know that I hear so many people, whether they're my clients talking to me or I just hear it in general, so many women specifically live their lives and make decisions based on the misinterpretations that might happen from strangers, right? If they were to make a certain move. And I said this to my client the other day. I was like, do you have any idea how many sales would not have happened when it comes to all of my clients collectively if they had allowed themselves to make decisions based on, again, that imaginary like judgment from that imaginary person that may or may not happen, instead of simply what's honoring what is true for them, and maybe again extending the deadline, getting a couple more sales. But so many people pump the brakes because again they're afraid of that false understanding from somebody else, that false judgment from somebody else that they're out to do something icky or they're lying to their audience or whatever it is. You know this, and I know it's so basic and so simple, but I want to just reiterate and remind you that you can't control the ways in which you might trigger other people, the perceptions people might have about you. I had a client say to me a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about just the fact that she's built a successful business and it feels weird for her to carry a luxury handbag in church. She was just saying, she's like, I just don't want people to think I'm snobby. I don't want people to think I think I'm better than them. And I'm like, okay, well, are you snobby? Do you think you're better than them? And the answer was no. And so if you know that is true, we don't have to be concerned with what other people think. And I don't mean that in a way that they're not saying that, because for all I know, they might be saying that. But you can't control whether they say that or not. You can only control your side of the street. You can only control what is actually true. And what is actually true for you is that you don't think those things. You aren't that person. And so that's what you have to be clean about internally. You have to know that you can own the fact that I want this bag, I worked for this bag, and I'm not sorry about it. And that's your only job. Your job is not to control the perception or the beliefs of others, because not even because it's like, not that I don't want that it's not a valid thing to want to do that. Of course, I want to control everybody's thoughts of me. I want everyone to think that I'm the most perfect, wonderful, beautiful, whatever person in the world, of course, right? But I know that I can't do that. I know that it's literally impossible to make sure that everybody likes me, everybody sees me for who I actually am, to not trigger anybody, right? I know that it's a losing battle. And I feel like I just learned that early on when I wanted to win everybody over. But I just came to understand that no matter how much I try or how much I think I'm doing a good job with XYZ, somebody might see fault in it. And so when you recognize that, like, okay, trying to win everybody over is a losing battle anyway, I might as well put the focus on making sure that I'm winning myself over, right? Rather than, again, trying to control all of the perceptions from the outside that you couldn't possibly control anyway. And so I just wanted to do this quick episode today, just to remind you of that and to remind you that your most important job when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to doing what you're doing, is simply to check in with yourself. And are you proud of this decision? Can you own what it is that you're about to do? Can you own what it is that you're saying to, that date or in your business? And if you can't, look at that and maybe decide what would feel more true and authentic and aligned to you. And if you can, great. And allow that to be something that allows you to be even more confident in terms of who you are and what you're doing. Because again, that check-in with yourself, even if you might know it, right? Like, for example, we're selling the 500K sales system this week, and I didn't think I was going to sell that program again. I never did like a proper retirement sale for it, but I said, okay, we're shifting and like, these are the only programs that we're selling moving forward. And a couple of weeks ago, I was like, wait, but like, it was such a great program. It's probably silly that I didn't give people one last chance to buy it. And so again, the things that were going through my mind were like, okay, well, what if somebody like has a problem with that? Or, you said you were only going to have these programs. And those were all like questions that popped up in my brain very momentarily, because I was very clean about the fact that it made sense to do the retirement sale. But my point in saying that is, I caught myself, even when I was solid on something, I caught myself doubting it for even a moment, but being able to check in with myself and being like, well, can you own why you're doing this? And fuck yes, I can. I can totally own why I'm doing that. And so now it makes me that much stronger and that much more proud and that much more confident to shout it from the rooftops and more solid about that choice and sharing it with everybody, And again, being able to check in with myself and ask myself that question allowed for that extra solid peace, right? Peace of mind in terms of what I'm doing and why. And again, being able to own it. And so I just want you to ask yourself that question a lot more often moving forward, especially when you're in a situation where you're not quite sure which route to go and you're a little bit worried, like I said, about people's, misconceptions or judgments around what you're doing. Again, can you own it? And I think that's going to give you a lot of clarity in terms of how to move forward. All right. I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.